Good morning, Angela. Can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Great. It's great to have you here today. Um,
Thank you for inviting me.
it's awesome to keep doing this type of events and having our partners closer, even though everything is a little bit uncertain.
Yeah.
Um, we're going to begin in a few minutes.
Okay.
I know someone from my team has been in touch with you, and this is a very familiar space where we have people from our house, from our university, from different
Okay.
areas. I'm not sure if you are aware that we are having today our research director, someone that coordinates different programs at our Institute for Sustainable Entrepreneurship with
Hmm.
Jessica. Leonardo is our Leonardo Rodriguez. He is our research and transfer director. And
Okay.
we have created these type of spaces in order to get closer to our partners, to those institutions that help us to connect better in the world.
Sure.
And yes, we are thrilled about the idea of being an incubator, a very recognized incubator in Colombia that has been prioritizing sustainable entrepreneurship. And this conversation today intends to know better how, or to know examples around the world, to um, reflect on how has this process been evolving in the late years, and
Yeah.
why is this important in order to boost innovation at universities.
Sure. Sure. I'm happy to discuss all those things. It's been an interesting time, so I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about.
Sure. Um, Good morning, Jessica. Good morning, Leonardo. You know this event is going to be held in English in order to to have some.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect because we are trying to have more of this type of events in a second language. Even though this is for our community and for our professors, it's okay. It's no problem.
Yes.
We
Okay.
are going to practice a little bit.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. Leonardo, Jessica, we're going to wait 2 minutes in order to have more people connected, even though this is
Okay.
going to be recorded, if it's okay for you. And we're going to store this at EAN TV in YouTube in order to share this content with our community in the future.
Okay. Good morning.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, Jessica.
Good
Hi,
morning.
how are you?
It's okay. Thank you.
Good.
Great. We are going to begin now. Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody to this event where we are intending to connect you better with the different networks and spaces globally where we can connect better and connect with different institutions at Universidad EAN. Today we have a very special guest. We are here today with Angela Olson, who is the communications manager at UB Global. I think many of you might have have heard about UB Global in the past because since we were I don't know in which year we were classified as one of the I think the 12th university incubator globally by UB Global, and this is a very nice thing to say today because this is an organization that works to connect innovation hubs around the world. That's why I don't want to tell a lot more because I would like to introduce Angela, who is going to, in a first stage of this conversation, will present a little bit better and more detailed how UB Global has been doing this since 2013, and which is I mean, the priority now. We have a different world. How has been the last year? Which are your main targets today? And of course, also challenges in connecting these hubs around the world. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As you said, we are a community of business incubators and accelerators. We began in 2013 studying where around the world the university incubators and accelerators were and what they were doing. And that evolved into what we are today, which is an intelligence company and community and a really vibrant network. We have over 1,200 members in more than 90 countries around the world. We conduct the World Benchmark Study and publish the World Rankings Report, and that's what you were part of. And this year we were supposed to do that again. It would be our 6th time, but things are so different now for our research and for the universities, and so we decided to conduct a different type of study this year. It's an impact study on the pandemic effects on business incubators and business accelerators, not only universities, but also private and corporate entities as well. So we've invited this as a holistic study on how the world has changed for our industry, for the innovation industry. So that's our challenge this year, and that's what we're studying until we conduct the benchmark next year.
That's very interesting. We have to change as the world changes.
Yes, we do.
Nevertheless, I think it's very interesting to introduce this topic because an innovation hub has many different stakeholders. I think accelerators, incubators, different investment. I mean, when you talk about an entrepreneurial ecosystem, you have something that is mandatory, and it's innovation. And sometimes innovation in some countries, it happens in companies or in the industry.
Sure.
But sometimes it's stronger in the universities because we have different structures and different bias. It's not the same to talk about Germany and to talk about Guatemala. We're different, and that's why universities keep being very, very important in this process. That's why I would like to introduce now Leonardo, as I said before, Dr. Leonardo Rodriguez. He is our director of research and transfer at the university. And taking into account this that we have introduced, how have you been prioritizing and connecting innovation with what we do at our Institute for Sustainable Entrepreneurship? I left you by the end, Jessica, because I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship and how you have been transforming in the last year as well. But on the first hand, I would like to listen to Leonardo and to understand better and to share with Angela how you have been prioritizing and connecting what you are researching and the outcomes of a possible incubation and successful incubation process at our institute.
Sarah, good morning, and thanks for this introduction. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Leonardo Rodriguez Urrego. I'm a research and transfer manager of Universidad de An. A special thanks to Angela Olson for joining us from UBI Global, and Jessica and Sarah for joining us in this webinar. To begin, I think that, Sarah, I think that most of the universities in the world are in an academic past. Academics tend to believe in the immutability of university principles. Exists an idea, or at least a shared feeling, that the principles that inspire the educational organization, the teaching process, and the relationships with the research have remained unchanged over the years, and that they are part of the census of university institutions. Today, in a globalized and hyper-connected world, and in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, universities must transcend the limits of teaching. I think that the fourth industrial revolution is a way of describing the blurring of boundaries between the physical, digital, and biological worlds. It's a fusion of advances in artificial intelligence, or robotics, the Internet of Things, 3D printing, genetic engineering, quantum computing, and other technologies that universities should take advantage of in teaching an educational transformation process. And for me, it's very important to connect the innovation, the research, and the educational process. I don't know, Sarah, I think that responds your question.
Sure, we will go deep in that matter later, because I'd like to hear from you, for example, the concrete examples that you have with projects that you have been doing in the regions, and how is that connected also with the role of the institute. But we will come back to you in some minutes. Jessica, good morning. Thank you for accepting this invitation. Jessica, you are at the Institute for Sustainable Entrepreneurship, which in my case, and I didn't introduce myself, Angela, I am the Director of International and Corporate Affairs at the university. And since I entered to the university, that was my priority, to be a platform for that institute, because that's something that is different to the rest of the universities in Colombia. I think we are one in a kind, and we have been succeeding in having different methodologies and different programs for the ecosystem, and we have opened the portfolio that we have in the last year, not only for students from Universidad de An, but also for different entrepreneurs from the ecosystem, and we have been prioritizing different sectors. Jessica, I would like to ask you today, how has this process been evolving last year? Which are those sectors in which we have been doing the difference, or setting the difference, for example, with the e-commerce lab that we have launched in a pandemic? Why, for example, is e-commerce important in this moment where we were totally isoled and close to the physical world? How has been this transformation?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, this is a long year ago. We have to face this new kind of reality, and one of the first things we think that is going to be very hard for our community was the new channels of commercialization. So we launch a new e-commerce a new e-commerce program to help this community to get these customers in this new way. Maybe it's not just marketing, it's just service to reach out the new clients and start to embrace this new reality. So this new reality is 100% virtual, so we have to migrate to that new scenario, and we are helping this community with that content. We make content, we make some trainings and things. Is very specific for this for this new type of ecosystem that is raising in this part of the, maybe is not the same for other countries, but in Colombia we are so slow going to these digital channels, and in 1 minute everyone is there. So it's hard, and we are work in progress in that field. But in the other hand, we have another type of entrepreneurships that is going to launching new services and products, also in this new reality too, in topics that is maybe not so real now. Yeah, now is real. For instance, things like new kinds of energy, maybe, or recycling, or new type of materials. And this entrepreneurship is going to have to face a new way to get to these new clients. So we are working on that, and this is going to be different, but we are going to make good results, because our entrepreneurships have the skills to overcome this new reality too.
Jessica, to give you a little bit of context regarding this part, our institute has been an incubator in the past, but last year we were facing something that we noticed in the ecosystem, because Colombia and some countries in Latin America were not that digitally transformed. I mean, it was not like the rule. And when everything was locked down, how were companies or startups going to survive? And we have been focusing a lot in capacity building for the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Capacity building, it's important, it's necessary, and sometimes it has a good amount of innovation in processes or in types of mentorship, but not necessarily is linked to the research priorities of a university. How can we balance this reality nowadays? Because sometimes those innovations that are needed in the sectors are not necessarily linked to the research priorities that were marked in the long term in universities. This is a challenge to make this bond today, where many things are happening, and we are resolving urgent things all the time, and we are trying to respond to the society needs. But how can we keep prioritizing and investing right in the research priorities of universities? How do you see that challenge? You have to unmute your mic, I think.
Sorry. I would say that
No.
you're not alone in that. You're definitely not alone. In fact, I was just looking at the last World Benchmark study before this session, and a high percentage of the programs offered services in person rather than digitally. So there's been a huge shift across the world on offering startups the services they need when they can't be there in person. So your question was how to coincide with the research efforts and keep that all in line. I think research is also going through kind of a shift right now as well, because people want different things. You know, Jessica was talking about e-commerce. People want to buy things in different ways. They want to buy different things. We need to know what the next vaccine is going to be. So all of the challenges that the world has are usually solved by innovation. And innovation is created within the startup community and the research community. And so that's why, you know, we're there to support the changes that the incubators and the accelerators of the world have to make during this time. That's what we're studying. We want to know, how are you responding to this? And how is your research team responding to this? And how are you best serving your startups? Because there have been some amazing innovations over the past year to meet the challenges of the pandemic. So
that's true. For example, in the education sector, in the fintech, financial inclusion. I mean,
yes,
I think the crisis moments in society or in our history have been marked by incredible innovations in those times, because it's when we are closing gaps, and that's
yes,
why I will say that the startups are the glue of different sectors, because they're
right,
putting together the puzzle and bridging that gap that sometimes some sectors have.
right.
And that I mean, that's amazing in the middle of so much uncertainty, as I said at the beginning.
Yes.
Angela, I'm going to go back to Leonardo now, in order to also motivate the conversation between you both. Leonardo, we have listened Angela about saying that this is, we are not alone. It's not a challenge that we are facing alone in Latin America, and of course, in Europe or in Asia, you're facing also similar challenges. But Leonardo, in the priorities that you have in your research groups and the research outcomes that sometimes in our structure in Colombia are needed to have a high quality accreditation, for example, how do you think which is the biggest challenge to connect that to things that are happening in the real sector? We are trying to become and to excel as a university of applied sciences. It's different than a traditional university. Which are the challenges in excelling being a university of applied sciences?
Thank you, Sarah. This is very important in the university, in a university, for example. I think that the universities need to have a transfer office to support a process of research process, and the universities need, in this case, for example, for the research groups, support in the topics of intellectual property is more important today because the connection to the real sector and the academy is the most important for me. Sarah, thank you.
Thank you, Leonardo. Jessica, now at the institute, you have different programs, and you have been like doing a very nice segmentation of the groups that you are supporting. Can you tell us about this segmentation and the transformation of the methodology and the platform that you have and that you have been adapting to different cooperation projects? I will mention that at the end, but it's amazing because in the virtual world, you have been doing a great job regionalizing the capacities of the incubator in some different places, not only in Bogota, where we are located. Can you explain us a little bit more about that?
Yes, yes. And it's a good question, Sarah, because we have three stages. We have stage one, is like a pre-incubation program, but we want to make some awareness about topics that is important to us, like for instance, rural entrepreneurship, that it was last cycle, and it was so full of people that I want to go to make an entrepreneurship, but in the field, in other fields, in countries, in other states, where the important things are the agriculture and the culture and the tourism, all this kind of type of new business that is around these topics. So we are making awareness in this pre-incubation process. Then we have an incubation process. We have a lot of entrepreneurship that is going to have one idea, and they want to go to the market and see what happens. So we go with them, and with a methodology, they can validate in the market that idea and say, okay, yes, we have a business, or maybe it's not a business at all, and we have to make another thing. It's a scenario that we can happen in this phase. And the third phase is acceleration process. We work with companies that they have sales, and they have strugglings going to be an entrepreneurship to a manager. So it's different because in our country, I don't know in the other countries, but here the entrepreneur is going to be everything. He sells, he's going to buy things, he's make the product, he do everything. So they have to stop a little bit and say, okay, we have to hire a new team, we have to grow, and I have to learn to lead that team, but they can't make the difference and they can't achieve things because it's one person, the entrepreneurship, and they in the always they think they are superheroes, so they don't sleep, don't eat, and it's hard for them. So we are helping them to this transition in this phase. And for us to support that, we have a platform where the mentors go to the platform. They can write some kind of I don't know, maybe some task they have to make, or they share content, or they make his for the team. So we have a platform for that, and that thing really allow us to give these phases in other territories and other cities. It's not just Bogota. We have people from Cali. We have people from very very far away things in places in Colombia, and we are really get them through the technology. So we are really happy with this new scenario, because we have a really good setup of entrepreneurships in all places in Colombia. It's not just in Bogota, and they are in love with the university too, because they make ellos se sienten parte, they make part of this university, so they don't, yeah,
they have this identity, common identity now. They are part of the university.
Really are. We have a one entrepreneurship is in Cali, and he work and to this, they have a hotel, beautiful hotel, beautiful, and he's talking about like it was his university, with so passion, with them, with sustainability, and it's beautiful. And this is because we have the opportunity to give to them through the connectivity. We don't have to be there with him, but we have to listen and help him in the way we can do it here. This the university.
Great, Jessica. When you explain
Sarah.
I travel also to those projects. I will put you now a homework for the next round. Is what to ask Angela in the next round, because we have to take advantage of Angela as well. Leonardo, I know you have a question.
Yes, Sarah, following your previous question on research topic, I have a question for Angela.
Sure.
Angela, how UBI Global handles transfer and intellectual property issues?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think we had a little lag time there. I missed that.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you, Angela. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, I think we had a little lag time there. I didn't hear the question. I'm so sorry.
Leo, ¿puedes repetir la pregunta?
Claro, o sea, yo quiero saber de ella, a ver si me ayudas, Sarita. ¿Cómo,
Sí, te
cómo
ayudo.
trabajan en UBI Global todos los temas de propiedad intelectual y transferencia?
Great. This is a very good question because this is something that we are doing in an early stage at the university. We have a very new transfer office, and Leonardo would like to know how are you supporting or which tools do you have or how do you work that with those universities that are regulating, for example, intellectual property and transfer, because this is something very important in
Yes.
a university that does incubation, because sometimes you have issues with intellectual property. You have to regulate that from the very first beginning. How do you see this situation in your experience in the other hubs that you have many hubs in the world that which advice would you give us, because we are just beginning and trying to structure all of that from the legal side, from the financial
Sure.
side, we are structuring that in a very early stage. What could you say
Right.
about that?
So I would say that intellectual property is always been a concern for a lot of university teams and researchers and entrepreneurs, and that's not likely to change. In fact, it's gotten even more intense this year because there's so many things coming all at once. And just, take this vaccine development for one example. In the United States, they have talked about opening the patent rights because they just want more and more manufacture of it worldwide. So that's all making everybody pause and say, oh, well, how is this going to affect our IP rights? What's going to happen down the road? I think if I knew, I would probably be on more podcasts every day. But what I can say is that I think that you have to remember that you are competing globally more now than ever before. So you want to be sure to have your intellectual property and anything adjacent to it very digitalized, very secure, and get the best people behind it. Put a lot of energy behind that, because I think that that is again so important these days, now more than ever before.
Thank you, Angela. This is very important, and I think it summarizes also in having very clear that the talent is the most important thing behind any innovation. You have to work with your talent and train your talent, and also train those innovation skills, because to have an innovative profile, you need to train your skills or to mix in the right way the talent
Yes.
that you have as any organization. That's
We call it lifelong learning. We want everybody to be a lifelong learner. They are always learning and always making sure that they are on the top of their skill game. So yeah, I agree that that is very adjacent to any efforts that we do, for sure.
that's very interesting. Actually, we also have launched a platform for lifelong learning at our university. It's called X, and now it's for free. And we are trying to understand also this trend, because we are not talking anymore about K-12, but K forever, because
Yes.
you can learn forever. K to grade. I don't know if you have heard about that. K-12, not K-to-grade. Until you are an old person,
Yeah.
you can learn anything you want.
Right.
And that's the interesting thing. You can you can keep your talent and keep that good mixture, but having very clear that you have to get trained and you have to get upskilled on a daily basis. Jessica, I don't know if from your point of view, would you like to ask Angela something? Angela, of course, is in charge of communications at UB Global, and if I am not wrong, that's your role.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she could give us an overview about certain things that we would make more approach in the future. Would you like to ask her a question? I can translate if you want, or if you have it already written, you can go on.
Yeah. I have 2 questions for Angela, please. Thank
Great.
you, Angela. I want to know, maybe you can give us some advice about the main skills they have to improve in our entrepreneurships. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a better way to see the things, or I don't know, maybe you can tell us some advice in these skills they have to gain in this new reality.
I was really excited when you started talking about e-commerce, and I think that is spot on. I'm really, really proud of what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job. That, to me, is a huge leap to go from a physical to a digital, and being on the world market, if you will. That is a massive skill to have. And the fact that you're addressing it with entrepreneurs is brilliant. And that's exactly what we're seeing, for sure. I think when it comes down to, the maybe not so beautiful part of being an entrepreneur, the search for investment,
Okay.
you need to be aware of new criteria that are coming out that investors are looking at. Investors are looking for diversity and inclusion these days. Investors are looking for the sustainability and environmental and social governance. So all of these things are important to not only know for your program, but also to impart on your entrepreneurs as they go forward and grow their business, hopefully, and become investment worthy. That will be something that an investor will be interested in. So yes, the go-to-market, the global mindset, and the be investment ready. Those would be the 3 things that I would say absolutely to continue with. As you are, you're doing a great job. So
Thank you, Angela. Yes, I know that investment in this topic of sustainability is so important right now, and we are working very hard to make the good prepared so they can measure his impact and they can communicate it in a right way. But I don't know if you can tell us some examples of this part of the investment in this part of this topic is sustainability. So you can tell us more about how we can approach, how we can prepare these startups for this kind of investors.
right. This is a relatively new set of criteria for us as well. It is part of our impact study that we're doing right now. That part of the study is being led by a research partner who is very familiar with it. So I'm not as familiar, but I will say that the it's called ESG criteria, or ESG focus, and there's a lot of information available out there on it. A lot of times, and you've probably seen maybe some news headlines around the world, you'll see that a university, for example, I think it was Rutgers University, just divested a bunch of their stocks because their students said, we don't want to be invested in non-sustainable businesses anymore. We don't want to be invested in, and so they had to they actually did that. They listened to the student body and they divested a bunch of their investments and they pivoted. So those are the kinds of criteria, this ESG criteria, that are going to be important to investors going down the road.
Okay.
And I'm happy to let you know that we will be publishing some information on that on our blog on UBI Global in the next month,
Okay.
so that there will be, for our industry, from our point of view, a perspective on that.
Perfect. We are post on that. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. That's very interesting what you have said about the investment. We have as a different entity, we have launched, or we have been constructing the foundation of an investment fund that also focuses on sustainable business. And of course,
Yeah.
we have been learning a lot in the process, because sustainable business is a huge box.
Yes.
Huge, and private equity normally focuses on things that are more specific. I don't know, clean tech or climate change innovations, but we are learning on that, and we are trying to make that connection also with the institute, which is going to be very important in order to attract investors for those sustainable entrepreneurs. That's our experience. And now I would like to ask you, how can we take more advantage of those resources and channels that you have at UB Global? We keep being part of this network, and we would like to be, as I said at the beginning, closer and take more advantage of those resources.
Sure.
I don't know if you have a chapter in Spanish in which we could, for example, write about our experience and give you some insights about what's happening in Latin America. How could we get more involved with the resources and with the advantages that UB Global has?
Right. So our members are the most important thing to us, obviously. Without you, we would have no community. So we invite you to, when you join, and it is free to join as a business incubator or accelerator, and you can be a university business incubator accelerator, or a corporate or private or whatever you are. It's free to join, and we would at that time open a platform for you that is called UBI Connect. And that's exactly what it does. You are able to look at all of our research, private message other members, post your events, invite comments, and interact digitally with the rest of the community. And we also, at that point, would, if you had a demo day, for example, you could invite some members to come see that. If you needed a question answered, you could ask it of the message board. So you have a huge global network to take advantage of at that point. It's free to participate in our study that we're holding right now, the Triumph of Innovation study. And even if you haven't made any huge changes during the pandemic or because of the pandemic, which is possible, I would invite you to participate in that, because that's going to be a huge learning experience. That's the end result, is to learn about what everybody did and how they responded to the pandemic and what the new best practices are going forward. So participating in that study not only lets you turn the mirror on yourself and do your research yourself, it also lets you see what everybody else has done as well. So
can we still be part of the study, or it's already closed?
The study is open. Sign up.
Very important.
On our website.
Okay.
You can't miss it at the top. So yes, free to participate.
That's very important. I'm going to say this in Spanish for the people that is here, and to be very clear, to make this summarized. Nosotros somos parte de UBI Global. Muy importante que hagamos parte de UBI Connect, que es una plataforma donde podemos conectar con otros investigadores, podemos hacer parte de eventos, podemos publicar cosas que están pasando en la universidad o en nuestros marcos de investigación. Entonces, estos eventos son para eso, para que sepamos todas esas herramientas que tenemos y especialmente en el instituto aprovechemos esta gran plataforma que tenemos. Yo no sé, I'm going to ask you, Angela, does
And
UBI
I just want to
Connect-
address the second part of your question was the Spanish. Yes, we have some Spanish speakers on staff right now, so we can assist you in Spanish.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
No, that's great because I think we have so much to share as well.
Yes.
And it makes richer, I mean, the insights that you have for
It does.
for your, I mean, studies and for the overview that you have about your members and so on.
Absolutely.
Where can we find this UBI Connect that you mentioned?
So UBI Connect is for members only. So you would join as a member and you can visit our membership page to do that free. And we will send you a welcome email with a login and password to get into UBI Connect.
That means besides being, I mean, part of the incubators group in last years, we can now join as a member and then be part. And we would have how many, for example, it would be one person at the university that could enroll or register, or we could give some access to our teachers or researchers. How does it work?
Right. So you get a single access as a free member. For more logins, we would charge you for that, but
Okay, that's perfect.
that's also available on our membership page. If you go there, there's the different levels you can sign up for and what they include.
Okay, and to be part of the study, we just go to your website and register and share the experiences that we have been leading during the pandemic.
Right. The name of the study is Triumph of Innovation. There is a link at the very top of the page. It's in blue. It's out pretty nicely. And all you give us to begin with is your name and your contact information. And we will get in touch with you at that point with a few simple things to answer and welcome you to the study at that point.
That's great. Leonardo, do you have any more questions, or Jessica, or we would be closing in a few minutes?
Oh, I think that the audience have a questions for Angela.
Great.
Ah, that's awesome. I didn't see that. Do we have open mics now? No, I don't see the question in the chat. Who has a question?
No, no.
I have a question for Leonardo, if he doesn't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Leonardo, how do you see the global competition and going from the physical to the digital in education? How do you see that affecting intellectual property and entrepreneurship?
Excuse me, repeat the question, please.
So the world is increasingly a global marketplace.
Yeah.
For entrepreneurs. And a lot of the physical services and education and entrepreneurship, mentorship kind of activities and research have been physical and are now moving to the digital. How do you see that affecting future entrepreneurship education and research?
Leo, si quieres, puedes contestar en español. I'm going to translate if it's easier
Yes.
in order to.
Sure.
Okay.
¿Ahí entendiste bien la pregunta?
Más o menos, más o menos.
¿Cómo es el cambio de lo virtual, de lo físico a lo virtual, especialmente en temas de investigación y de la educación para el emprendimiento? Porque ya ahora todo se volvió como en la fase, digamos, digital, y como ¿cuál es el reto más grande para investigar virtualmente? Es más, ¿cómo ves tú ese cambio tan drástico?
Bueno, depende. Digamos que, a ver si me ayudas, en la investigación básica, de pronto teórica, digamos que siempre se ha hecho de la mano de software y de la mano de las matemáticas y la estadística, y es muy fácil seguirla haciendo virtual o durante mucho tiempo ha sido más sobre papel. Y en la investigación ya práctica, ya lo que es investigación aplicada, pues sí hay unos retos muy grandes de sobre todo utilizar medios como la cuarta revolución industrial, el Big Data, la inteligencia artificial y demás, para poder aplicar esa investigación y llevarla al mercado. Pero realmente en la investigación básica sigue siendo igual, entre comillas, y en la investigación aplicada sí los retos son muy fuertes para poderla llevar luego al mercado.
Great. Angela, Leonardo tells us that, for example, in basic research, it's nothing has changed. I mean, it has been always like something that is paper-based, that is based on maths and stems and data, and you can keep doing that virtually or remotely. It makes no difference. But the real challenge is on applied research, where you
Right.
really need to make or lead experimentation, or you need the labs, you need that's something we have been struggling, and I think during the pandemic, how can we ensure that the education process goes through the different milestones that you need to train a person to do an experiment, to get to know to lab, to the technology, to the different protocols that you have in those experimentation modules that you have in any engineering career or any
Right.
chemistry career, for example, just to give some examples. And there's where he sees a real struggle, and where innovation, or for example, last year we were bringing the lab to the place, to the home of the students, like sending some different gadgets and things to enable them to do the experiments. In our department, for example, we were leading a global classroom with Tec de Monterrey, and we were sending the sensors and the different materials to every student in Colombia in order that they could do the challenge together with those students at Tec de Monterrey,
Wow.
Mexico. And it was an international experience that was ensuring the experimentation process that you need. But we needed to be very creative as well, because
Yes.
it's not easy to put everything in a software. When you have a software, you can keep being remotely. And
Right.
with that question, with that answer, I just want to make a last question to you, Angela. How do you see the evolution of scientific diplomacy in this year? Because through scientific diplomacy, we have a vaccine in a very short time. And
Right.
how do you see the future of that?
Well, fortunately, the global community of business incubators and accelerators and startups are they're very industry agnostic, and they're very willing to collaborate. It's a competitive collaboration, if you will. So I feel like that is going to continue. I think that as Leonardo said, with things not really changing, research is research, and we're going to carry on. I think a lot of the entrepreneurship's becoming that way too. They've embraced the digital platforms, and they have been able to still collaborate within their local ecosystem as well as the global ecosystem. So I feel like that will continue to grow. I think there'll be more partnerships across the world. There'll be more partnerships with corporations. There's a lot of distress out there right now from the pandemic. Is definitely disruptions not ending anytime soon. So I think that we're seeing a really big surge in corporate interest in not only university incubation and entrepreneurship, but around the world, not just their local ecosystem. They're reaching out around the world. So a lot more collaboration, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. This is everything for today. I am very thankful that you made some slot in your agenda to be with us today. It has been very enriching. Thank you, Jessica, also for sharing this space with us, Leonardo, and our staff, our professors that are listening to us. We hope we could inspire you a little bit and show you a broad spectrum where you can collaborate. I hope your family is safe, Angela, and that we
Yes.
keep in touch.
Yes, wonderful. I hope to see some signups to the study from Colombia. It would be very, very our honor to include you in the study. So that would be great.
That's a very important opportunity. Thank you very much. We are going to put that in our priority list with Leonardo and Jessica.
Yeah.
Great.
Because
you,
I
Sarah.
think it's worth it. We have been doing a lot. It's worth it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you
you
for
so
the
much.
team behind
Thank
here, organizing everything. Laura, Andres, thank you very much. Goodbye.
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 Bye.
Thank you.
This was never the way.